my husband and I are avid hikers and campers. And we lived in California when we first met and got married. We actually met on a hiking trail in the Mammoth Mountain area. Some of you might know it. It's a really beautiful Sierra Nevada area. So it made sense that after we were married, when he was about to turn 30, and I wanted to plan a surprise for him, that I would pick a camping week. So I didn't tell him about it. I managed to get his employer to agree that he could be off work that week, and we would go camping in many different places. We had done our honeymoon from San Francisco all the way up to Vancouver in various camping places. So we were going to try to revisit some of those places for his 30th birthday. And in addition, I was going to have some of my friends that had really become our friends after we got married meet us in Mendocino, which is on the coast in Northern California. I had rented a cute little house, and they were going to show up there and do the big surprise on Friday night. So on Monday, we head out from San Francisco. We visit some of the wonderful campsites every campsite in Northern California is wonderful, especially since it doesn't really rain there, so you don't even have to plan that well. So the campsite that we had on Thursday was in what's called Hendy Woods Wilderness Area. And it's famous for, first of all, being totally gorgeous and remote, but also it was the home of what's called the Hendy Woods Hermit. And he was a man, he passed away in the 80s, but he was a stowaway on a Russian ship, Russian tanker or something, in like the 40s. And he was a hermit. He lived in the Hendy Woods in a hollowed out tree. He actually had 2 different areas where he lived, and you can still visit them today. So we had been visiting these shelters in this really remote area, and it was really amazing, but it kind of took on this creepy quality to it because it was midweek, and there was really no one else around. And our campsite was only going to be, a few hundred feet from this hermit's house. And he died there, and so there was all these kind of like ghost stories. So it comes time to set up our tent, and we picked a really beautiful spot and set up the tent, and it's so remote that we actually had to park and backpack in. So we cooked our powdered food, whoever had to add water, we added the water, cooked our food, and all the rest of the food, my husband remembered sort of at the last minute as we were about to turn in that we should hang the food in the tree because of the bear situation. So we had been hearing sort of, when you're in the woods, everything's kind of amplified. But we'd been hearing the cracks and is it a squirrel? Is it a deer? Is it a bear? So he gets out of the tent, gathers up and the toothpaste also has to go in the bear bag that gets hung in the tree. So everything that we're not using goes in the tree, and he comes back in the tent. And for some reason, he was a little more agitated than usual because he's a hardcore camper. But anyway, the sounds start to kind of die down, and we go to sleep. And we're in a 2-man tent, which is also sometimes known as a 1-man and a dog tent, or maybe a 2-man tent if you're newlyweds like we were. You're really close together. The sides of the tent are almost like touching you along the sides of your body. So we go to sleep to the sounds of creaking and crickets and cicadas and crack, crack. And around 2 o'clock in the morning, I need to roll over, as you're kind of allowed to do when you're sleeping. So I roll toward him, and all of a sudden, out of nowhere, he starts attacking me in a way that's just, I'm sleeping, right? I'm just rolling over, so I don't even know what's happening before he's pounding me in the face, the head, the chest, and like trying to kill me. And I'm thinking to myself, God, we've been married for a little over a year, and I didn't really know he had a violent side. Like, all these things are running through my head. Like, how am I? And he's about 6'2", about 200 pounds. So this was not good. So I finally wake up and start trying to defend myself. It's a little bit not working. So finally, after we're wrestling and wrestling, I managed to throw my body on top of his body and kind of lay on top of him. And if you've ever been around someone who's sleepwalking, and when they wake up, the look in their eyes is so funny. So it was so dark, actually, that I remember this because my face was like right on top of him as I'm leaning. And he opens his eyes, and it dawns on him like over probably 30 seconds. His eyes really wide. And I say, "What are you doing?" And he doesn't even speak, so the silence is sort of hanging in the air, and he goes, "Oh, thank God, I thought you were a wild pig." So I start laughing. It's really hard. So he can't really see me that well because of the darkness, so he thinks I'm crying. He knows he's been punching me in the face for the last minute and a half. And I'm laughing so hard, both because the look on his face was so funny, and it didn't hurt that much, even though it was really crazy. So he calms down. "I'm so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking, but your nervous system when you're in the woods is kind of like a meerkat, like every little noise." So he's trying to explain to me how he was dreaming about a wild pig attacking the tent, and okay. So we go back to sleep, finally. We wake up the next morning. This is now Friday morning. We're meeting my friends at the cute little house in Mendocino. And he looks at my face when the light comes up and he's, "Oh my God." So I have a pretty big black eye. So this would be a good time to mention that the friends that we're meeting are a friend of mine from high school and a friend of mine from college that he had met. They had been at our wedding. He didn't really know them well, but I had been talking him up to them and them up to him. And I was so excited for them to meet and everyone just be a love fest. So we pull in to the appointed meeting area, and they show up, and they think they're gonna kind of surprise both of us. They come from behind and they do that like put their hands over your eyes thing. "Guess who?" And he turns, of course he can't guess who, and I'm laughing. And so we both turn around, and he's completely shocked, and there I am with the black eye, trying to explain what happened. That because they're all avid campers too. So really, were you sleepwalking? No. Were there bears out there before you went to bed? Like, was it dangerous? No, not really. But are there wild pigs in Hendy Woods? No, there aren't. But I swear he was sleeping. I swear he was sleeping. So they finally start to buy the story. We go on to have a pretty good time. But you know how you can kind of see the look in people's eyes, like, we're gonna keep our eye on him for a little while, just in case, that we really don't know what's going on with this guy. So I'm happy to report that just today, I heard from my husband, of 17 years now, who, yeah, I'll tell him you clapped, who just emerged from the back country of the Sierra Nevadas with our two sons, who are 13 and 14, after a 10-day off-the-grid hiking adventure, where I said to him, "Were there any bears?" "No." "Were there any wild pigs?" I'm happy to report there weren't, and we still happily camp and enjoy the outdoors. So all's well in the end. Thank you.